Yay! Can they just start? Can they see us?
Okay, are we unmuted? Yes. Okay. Welcome to World Book Day TeenFest. My name is Katherine Woodfine. I'm live on air from HarperCollins, and I'm going to be talking to the amazing Holly Smale.
Hi.
Holly is obviously the talent behind the brilliant Geek Girl series, which is also one of this year's £1 books, which we'll talk about in a bit. So if you are watching live on Google+, then please post your questions for Holly in the Q&A sidebar, and we will do our best to answer them. But I know yesterday some people were having some problems adding their questions to the sidebar. So if you have any problems with the Google Hangout, then you can also tweet me your questions. I am at @followtheyellow on Twitter. And if you tweet me, I will endeavour to ask Holly your questions. I've got my Geek Girl glasses at the ready. So yeah.
Too, but they're just a bit distracting, so I can't see it. It gets more reflective. So yeah, I put them there.
We have Geek Girls in spirit.
Yes.
So yeah, without further ado, I'm going to get started. So I thought we would maybe start by going right back to the beginning.
Yes.
Talk about this.
Yeah.
The first Geek Girl book. So can you tell me a bit about where the sort of original idea for the series came from? What was the inspiration for Harriet and her world?
I guess me is the short answer to that. When I was about 26, I'd been writing since I was 5, and I decided I wanted to be an author at 5. And so I'd kind of been writing anything I could get my hands on, loads of crazy stuff. And I got to about 26, and I'd already written a huge novel for adults that nobody wanted, no one wanted to publish. And my friend said, why don't you write about when you had been a teenage model for a couple of years? And I thought that isn't really something I'm interested in, because it's not something I want to write about, sort of girls walking up and down a catwalk. And my friend said, just give it a bash anyway. So I sort of sat down and wrote, my name is Hangout and I am a geek. And the story just came rushing out. And it was a story about how it felt when I was at school, and I was very geeky and unpopular and bookish and didn't have any friends and was bullied quite badly, and kind of turned into kind of an idea for an updated comedy version of The Ugly Duckling, basically.
And how close is Harriet to you and yourself when you were at school?
Well, I'm not even at school, to be honest. I mean, I'm 33 now, and I'm consistently called Harriet by my mother, by my agent, by my friends. So we're pretty much the same person, basically.
And do you share Harriet's love of fascinating facts?
I do, and I love researching them, because obviously I get asked a lot whether or not I know all these facts off by heart, and I am not a genius, so no, I don't. But I do love researching them, so it's one of my favourite bits, is finding them all out.
And how do you go about that? Do you just sort of scour the internet to find Harriet-ish facts to throw in there? Yeah,
I've got fact books, I've got encyclopedias, I watch kind of documentaries and make notes and stuff like that. But I've got this way of using them. So if I find a fact, that I know how I'll use it. So I'll know how, if I'm going to use it as a metaphor for something that, to say a particular thing. So some people think I write the books and then drop the facts in afterwards, but that would be impossible, because they're kind of woven so tightly into it that it has to be done as I go along.
And do you have like a top favourite fascinating fact that you found from the whole series? Or is that just a completely impossible question?
Oh, I love loads of them. But the one I really like is one that every breath you take has a molecule that used to be a dinosaur in it.
That is a great fact.
Which is brilliant. So yeah, that's probably my favourite.
And also a very Harriet-ish fact, I think.
Yes.
That would be like
exactly
favourite for her.
Exactly. And as soon as I read that, I was like, I'm going to really turn that into like a kind of a really kind of significant part of like a chapter, like a kind of metaphor. So I love it.
That's
love all
great.
that stuff.
So tell me a little bit about your £1 Geek Girl book for World Book Day. So this is the £1 book that people can buy with their World Book Day token in bookshops. Yeah,
well, it was brand new for me, because obviously it's not a full-length book, it's a novella. And I've written a short story and I've written a novel, but I've never written a novella before. So it was completely new in terms of, the sort of the size of the arc of the story. So it was kind of an experiment, but I knew that it had to be quite early on in the series, because I didn't want to destroy it for people who hadn't read, for instance, the other books. So I decided to base it between book 1 and book 2. And it, in essence, is it needed to be separate enough so that new readers wouldn't be confused and old readers wouldn't be like, oh, we know all this. So I basically did it around a school play, and it's called Geek Drama, because obviously it's play on the Greek drama.
Nice.
And I decided that because it was World Book Day and it was a book about, sort of literature, books and stuff, I decided to base it around Shakespeare. So it's they put Hamlet on at school. which
Amazing.
I loved Hamlet. It's one of my favourites, so I decided that I was being selfish and I just basically wanted to write about Hamlet.
Yeah, I'm guessing that Harriet quite enjoys the sort of geekiness of getting into Shakespeare as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So she's really academically enthused, but not potentially very excited about the idea of having to act it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it was great fun, and it was really, you know, kind of, and all the other characters turn up in it, and you know, sort of, it was really fun. I managed to kind of complete it in the time frame that I needed to in terms of the arc, so it worked well, I think.
That sounds great. And you've also got this one, which is another new. There's also loads of them behind me. Yes, perfect. So many Geek Girls. But yeah, so this is the latest in the series, All That Glitters. So do you want to tell us a little bit about this one as well, because it's pretty much just come out?
It came out last week.
Yeah.
So I'm on the tour, the big tour. Yeah, no, it came out last week, and it's so difficult to say anything about the books without ruining previous books or without ruining the. There are a lot. So they're very twisty. This one's particularly twisty. So any kind of plot really gives it away, but in essence, Harriet starts sixth form, and she again twisty, she starts sixth form and things suddenly change. And the foreign country that she always goes to in this one is Morocco.
Amazing.
Yeah, so you know, sort of desert scenes and that kind of thing, which is all quite fun. But really it's mostly based in sixth form, so the modelling takes a sort of back seat in this one, and she's just really dealing with what it feels like to suddenly go to a new place. She's in the same school, but she's now older, she's wearing her own clothes. There's, you know, a totally different dynamic from being year 11 to being sixth form, so it's just kind of dealing with that change.
And some great, having just read the beginning of this book, some classic Harriet outfits in there, I think.
Yes, I do enjoy the outfits. The classic, oh, what are you doing, Harriet?
And there have been some amazing Harriet costumes for World Book Day, haven't there, today?
Yeah, people have been, not only have I seen them being tweeted at me, but also like going to schools. I've been to quite a few schools, and over the last week people said, oh, I've got plans for dressing up like Harriet.
Amazing.
And today I had little geek girls all like surrounding me. There's probably like 7 or 8 in each school, and it was just fantastic. So yeah, it's been amazing. It's so weird to create a character and then see them coming to life. You're just like, what is happening?
Geek girls everywhere. So are you allowed to tell us anything about your future plans for Harriet beyond this book? Will there be more books? Will we be continuing her adventures? Yeah, well, this is book 4. There's going to be 6. So 5 and 6 are going to come next year and the year after. And I know what the plans are. I'm sitting at the moment working out the exact plot for 5 and 6, because normally I plot generally one book at a time, knowing where the very end is going to be, but this, because there's 2, I'm going to plot them both at the same time, so that I know exactly that I don't leave anything untied, that I don't leave anything. And I'm already starting to get devastated. I'm already sad about the end of it. Like, even though it's 2 books away, I'm going to be a mess for the entire last book. I know, it's no, don't leave me, Harriet. I've just seen we've actually got a question that's coming on the Hangout. So somebody has asked, we'll select this one. How do you advise going down the path of being an author? What did you do after or in school to help you become an author? And this is a question from Isabel.
Good question. So I knew I wanted to be an author from a really, really young age, and I read. And I mean, I don't think I've ever met an author who doesn't think that reading is like pivotal to. It doesn't mean you have to read necessarily all the books the kind of books you want to write. Just read everything. Get as many in you as you possibly can. And you know, it's like nutrients. You know, you're going to be healthy if you have lots of different foods, and it's the same with reading. The wider the nutrients, the better. And then in terms of like writing, I just experimented a lot with different styles of writing. So if I liked a book, I'd try that writing. If I liked another, I'd try my own. And I tried horror, I tried, you know, fantasy, and I just basically kept writing until eventually, and I'm not going to lie, it took a while, you know, I was sort of 30 before I got my first book deal, and I'd been writing for 25 years by that point. But I'd found my own voice, and I'd found out how I was comfortable and what kind of stuff I liked writing. So yeah, I mean, to be honest, there is no trick. There is no kind of like, you know, class that you can do where you can end it and then suddenly go, I'm a writer. Ta-da! You've just got to go through the hard slog of working out what your style is and what your voice is. And
I think that's a really good point about not necessarily being afraid to try almost imitating a writer that you admire, or testing out a different style. You know, you don't have to be stuck in it, but it's a really good way to develop your own voice, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. And I think when I started to write Harriet, I mean, obviously I had 25 years of kind of trying out different types of styles, but I think there was a little bit of Adrian Mole in my mind, in that, you know, if I'm going to think of any writer that had inspired Harriet, it probably would be a cross between Adrian Mole and Anne of Green Gables. And that was, which is a very unlikely combination, but that, I think, if they were the two things that were inspiring Harriet, that was them. So don't feel afraid to be inspired, but then also try and not to copy too much. If you want to stick to your own voice, you don't want to try and be somebody else. So just keep that originality, but don't feel afraid to be imaginative and inspired at the same time. I use my hands a lot, don't I?
We can do that for a while if you like. We've got lots more questions coming in, which is fantastic.
Ooh, yeah.
So let's ask this one. So this question is about your days of being a model. What was your favourite moment when you were a model? And that's a question from Rhiannon.
Crikey. I think I had a really great shoot in a cornfield when I had been doing it for about a year, and it was a really, really sunny day, and we had like picnic blankets, and there were big kind of like straw bundles. We had to jump off them and like pretend to be like all the time, which wasn't particularly high fashion, that one, but it was really fun and really, you know, like I had a lot of fun. Sometimes I was very scared by the high fashion ones because there was a lot of kind of like pouting and all that kind of thing, whereas the kind of jumping off haystacks I could do a lot more easily.
I'm imagining that being a teen model does involve quite a lot of jumping off things generally.
Well, yeah, generally I think it does, but unfortunately because I was a funny looking kid, bless myself, I was a funny looking kid, so I got a lot of weird high fashion stuff, which meant that I had to do a lot of the being dressed up in weird crazy outfits. Like I was dressed up as a raspberry, like a high fashion raspberry.
Wow.
Yeah, which was fun. And there was the guy who asked me was an orange, and the girl after that was a kiwi, and I'm not joking. So yeah,
what designer was this for?
Yeah, well, it was for a magazine. I think it was for the Face or something like that.
Of course it was.
Yeah, but you would think it would be for NHS government eating guidelines, but no. So yeah, I did lots of like, you know, kind of the really pouty, crazy high art stuff, but actually I really just enjoyed jumping off haystacks.
Sounds like fun to me. We have got another question here from Gabriella, which says, hey, I love Geek Girl. Why couldn't you use the original title, The Metamorphoses of Harriet Manners? I didn't even know that was the original title.
Yeah, someone's doing their research. The original title was The Metamorphosis of Harriet Manners, which was it's what I wrote the whole book under. And it was only when it went to my agent, and my agent said, I'm going to start pitching it to publishers, and I don't think that's going to work. And I was like, what? I think it's cool, but it is very geeky. It's a very geeky title. So it then got changed to, I don't actually talk about this often. It then got changed to Geek Muse, which I still think is an ace title, because Greek muse, you know, and then Geek Muse. Muse obviously means to think, so it's all about Harriet's thoughts. Muse is also what the Grecians used to have as their version of the model. So it was also kind of like Greek Muse, Geek Muse, just like, I thought it was just top notch as a title. But we ended up selling, and the publisher, my lovely HarperCollins, decided that Geek Girl was punchier. And actually, I would agree, because there would not have been a very good series name, Geek Muse, and Geek Girl is a lot better.
Yeah.
So
it's a great title.
Yeah, no, I love it. But Metamorphosis of Harriet Manners would not have fitted in the glasses, would it? Just too long to get in there.
No, definitely not enough space for that in there.
No.
So,
good question.
Tell me a little bit about the sort of traveling element of the Geek Girl series. So each book is set in a different country. Is that inspired by your own sort of love of traveling? Yeah,
totally. And I didn't do it, like, obviously when I wrote the first book, I didn't think it was going to be a series. I thought it was going to be a standalone. So taking her to another country just felt really natural. You know, she's a model, you can do that really easily without, you know, kind of feeling like you're stretching the truth too much. And then when it came to second, I just felt, you know, I'd lived in Japan as a teacher, so I kind of thought I'm definitely going to base this one in. I think by that point, I thought every book is going to have a different country, because my two loves are writing and travel. And I just thought, if I can tie those things in, you know, just being selfish, really. Yeah. Like, selfish seems to work for me. If I like something, something interests me or excites me, I write about it, because it seems to come across as being quite genuine in terms of, you know, making other people like it too.
Well, it's writing from your heart then, isn't it?
It's real. I'm not doing anything kind of with a kind of malicious forethought. I'm just thinking, I really want to write about another country. So what shall I do? And that's basically kind of, I reckon, the key to writing is just write exactly what you feel like writing, and don't ever kind of, worry about what everyone else is going to think. And, if I want a scene where there's, kind of where she flies to Morocco, or she goes to Japan, or she goes to New York, and I do it. So yeah, and it's a great work because it's slightly different writing. I find that when I'm writing the travel elements, I switch mode slightly, and it's slightly more travel writing. So
and different from the sort of school, like contemporary, British kind of setting. Yeah,
exactly. And it kind of gives it an escapism. And I think from my perspective as well, if you want to go a little bit deeper into it, like, there's a lot of books which sort of really embrace other worlds that you can't visit, but I think it's really fun to celebrate the world that you can visit. And
that's really interesting.
Show people how great, and show girls, especially young girls, how amazing the real world is, and how you can actually go and be part of it, and adventure, and it's real. So
real kind of other lands you can explore for yourself. That's great. We've got lots more questions coming in. Let's see. Okay. There's a question here from Rory. What is your favourite author?
Okay, so my favourite author is probably Harper Lee. It's really unoriginal quote answer, but she's just so good. So obviously I'm really excited about the second book coming out in summer.
Very exciting.
Very excited. But then I also have really soft spots for other authors that I loved, as I was growing up. As I mentioned, Anna Queen Gables earlier, Ella Montgomery. I just think she's great. And The Borrowers, Mary Norton. I read recently again because I loved it as a kid. And it's funny reading things as an adult that you loved as a kid, and realizing that they're actually really, really, really good writing. They're not just great stories that you love as a kid, but the writing itself is actually really good as well. And you think, I had good taste, So The Borrowers just was amazing.
Such a great book.
Yeah, so great. And the whole series is amazing. And then, I used to love kind of, Roald Dahl a lot, although many nightmares were to be blamed on him, I think.
The witches in particular.
James the Giant Peach.
Really? Which was it, the insects or the ants?
No, it was the talking animals. I didn't like talking animals. So for me, it freaked me out. And the witches, obviously, but that, I think, goes without saying. But yeah, just generally massive fruit and talking animals. Very weird.
Another question. If you could have written any other book, what would it have been and why? That's an interesting question.
Amazing question. I mean, I think, well, To Kill a Mockingbird would probably be, I know it's really uninspiring answer, but it's just such a great book. And it's just, although, hang on, I don't know. Let's say that is one answer, but then also, another really uninspiring answer would be J.K. Rowling, and not necessarily for the reason that she's loaded, but mainly because when I was teaching in Japan, most of the classes that I taught had never heard of England, didn't know much about the West at all. In terms of, I would have great fun showing them photos of extremely famous people like Brad Pitt, and then having no idea who they were. Showed them a picture of Leo DiCaprio, and they would be like, the guy that sells tires, because he sells tires in Japan.
Wow.
They did not know he was a film star. So what was great, but then you show them a picture of J.K. Rowling, every single person in the school knew who she was.
That's the power of Harry Potter.
Yeah, and they all knew they knew everything about Hogwarts, they knew everything about which house they'd be in, they knew the whole school. And this is how it's, reached every single kind of corner. And so, for the power of that to make children love books, I just think it must be an incredible feeling. So
absolutely
amazing. Maybe Harry Potter.
More questions. Okay, this one is, what was your dream job when you were younger? Have you always wanted to be an author, or did you want to do something else?
I always wanted to be an author. From the age of 5, I wanted to be an author, but I did have a few dalliances with other kind of dreams. I wanted to be a ballerina for about half an hour when I was 4. And then I was told by my mother that would never happen because I was too tall, and I also fell over every time I tried to walk anywhere. So ballerina died a short death.
As it does for so many of us.
The dream is over. And I also wanted to be a scientist, although I didn't actually specify what scientist would be.
It means wearing a lab coat, right?
Lab coat and having like
some
things
pens.
Exploding.
Yeah,
that's kind of
some test tubes.
Exactly. And at one point, I actually wrote to a magazine and said that I wanted to be a part-time ballerina, part-time scientist, which would be fantastic combination. So they're the only two things I've ever wanted to be, other than an author. I was very single-minded as a kid, so I think sometimes you need that. You need that kind of like, I will do nothing else. And if it all goes wrong now, I will go back to being a waitress. That'd be it.
I really like this question that's just come in. It says, this is such a random question, but what is your favourite pudding?
Cheesecake. Love cheesecake. I went to New York and ate so much cheesecake. It was insane. I was just buying it by the slab.
Baked cheesecake? Or
all of it.
Just any kind?
Any cheesecake. It doesn't matter if it's the baked kind or if it's the squidgy kind or anything. Really.
That's good. Now we're both thinking about cheesecake.
Yeah, thanks. That'll be it for the rest of the night now.
Okay, we've done that one. I'll also ask you this one, which is from Gabriella. Do you plan to write anything else other than Geek Girl?
Yes. I'm going to have to, unless I want to go back to waitressing, and I was a terrible waitress. So yes, I will be writing something else. Once the Geek Girl series is finished, I'm going to have to work out what my next step is, and I've got ideas. I've got a notepad that I'm writing things down in. I'm just trying to decide which is the most exciting, because obviously I love Harriet so much that letting her go is going to be extremely painful. So to find something that I'm as excited about and that I love as much is going to be, I have to make the right choice, because if I don't, I'm going to resent it for not being Harriet, I think.
But the nice thing is that nothing ever really goes, does it? I mean,
no.
We're just talking about Harry Potter, and you only have to look at all of the Harry Potter, little tiny Harry Potters dressed up in World Book to see that,
and how often it keeps coming back to it. Yeah. So let's be honest, I'm never going to say that I will never write another Geek Girl. So in my mind, I'm just telling myself 6 is initial. The end. Yeah. I'll do something else. If I want to come back to it, then I'll think about it.
It's always there. Yeah. And this is a good practical question. When is the next book going to come out?
Wow, that is a good question. I'm afraid that I'm very unpopular when I answer that. They originally were coming out quite quickly. I'm now going to be doing one a year. So this one came out last week, and the next one will be this time next year. So yeah, be one a year from now on.
And somebody else has asked, what would you say is the most fun thing about writing?
Not having to get dressed for days and days and days, which is also the worst thing about writing, because it means I go to the shops in my pajamas quite a lot. I don't know. I think for me, really honest answer, apart from the pajamas bit, is that I get to spend time with my imagination, and I just love making stuff up. Yeah. And yes, it can be so painful if I can't work out what's coming next, or I can't work out how to put something. And there are pages in books where I have cried because I can't work out exactly how to put what I need to put. But then at the same time, the ones when I do get it right, and when I really feel like I've done the story that I needed to do, that's the best feeling. So those moments where I think, yes, that's exactly what I need at that point, they're my favorite bits of writing. It's just really exciting.
Yeah. That's brilliant. So many more questions. We could just go on answering them all night, and we haven't got that much longer to go. But
I'll try and answer them really quickly. So one word.
Okay, we'll do a quick fire.
Okay, quick fire.
What's your favorite TV show?
Breaking Bad or Gossip Girl.
Oh, good answers. What Harry Potter house are you in?
Gryffindor.
Oh, interesting. How long does it take you to make a book?
Really good question. It's taken a different amount for each time. So the first one was 2 years, second one was a year, the third was 9 months, the fourth was 6 months.
Wow, okay, so it's getting quicker.
I'm going to be knocking them out in a day, soon.
Wasn't that like Enid Blyton, who could famously pretty much knock out a book in a week?
Yeah, no, I won't never be doing that, but I think 6 months is my quickest, so I don't think I'll be going any faster than that. But yeah, it takes different amounts of time depending on how easy the story is, how experienced you are, how many times you've done it, that kind of thing.
Brilliant. So, yeah. This one is, which has been your favourite Geek Girl to write?
Each has been different. First Geek Girl had no pressure because obviously no one knew it existed, because I was writing in secret, so that was fun. And the second one was fun because it was based in Japan, and Japan is my favourite place in the entire world, so I really loved writing that one. The third one was my easiest one to write, not because it just felt like it flowed really easily. The fourth has been my hardest, but it's also felt like my most rewarding. So at the end, it's felt like the book that I'm really proud of. So all different but great in equal ways, like kids, basically.
Yeah. Asking you to choose between your babies.
Exactly,
basically.
Can't do it.
Isabel wants to know, who is your favourite Gossip Girl character?
Blair.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. Excellent choice. Okay, let's see. This is perhaps a good one to finish on. Any advice for anyone trying to get into writing?
Yeah, just keep going. And I'm not going to pretend it's going to be easy. It's going to be hard, and you're going to have to practice and work and work and work. But if you really, really go for it, it is totally possible to be an author. So that's
excellent. Great advice. I'm going to just ask you one question for me to finish off with. So it's World Book Day today, as you know, obviously. You dressed up as the Snow Queen for the Story Museum's amazing exhibition. Is there another character, if you had to pick somebody else to dress up for as World Book Day? Who would you
I
choose?
nearly chose Anne of Green Gables.
I really.
And the only reason I didn't
great.
go for Anne, it was between her and Winnie the Pooh. And the only reason I didn't go for Winnie the Pooh was because I wanted to wear a crown. And Anne of Green Gables because I thought it'd be more fun to be in a big fur coat. So yeah.
That's pretty good. I've put my glasses on just
And
to
mine are
finish
here,
off
aren't
with.
they?
Just so you know, I've obviously done my fancy dress for the day now. I think that's probably about all we've got time for. So thank you everybody for hanging out with us. We're sorry we couldn't answer all the questions. And yeah, enjoy.
Yeah, see you later. Bye.
Bye.